What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with another video about Mass Effect Andromeda. We're going to be talking about a couple things that I'm hopefully looking forward to with this game today. This is going to be a little series I'm going to be doing where I'm basically going to discuss things I want to see and things I don't want to see in the game, and also I might even talk about some stuff you guys are looking for with Mass Effect Andromeda. So this video is actually going to be the 5 things that I really want to see in Mass Effect Andromeda in terms of gameplay features and whatnot. And I'm going to do a video after this called the 5 things I really don't want to see in Mass Effect Andromeda. But I thought it would also be kind of cool to get your thoughts and comments on this. So if you guys would comment down below what you're most looking forward to with Mass Effect Andromeda, what you're hoping is going to be in the game, what you hope is not going to be in the game. Give me your thoughts down below, and what I'll do is I'll put together a video with subscriber thoughts and kind of discuss some of those when I'm done with these other 2. But let's kind of get right into it. I've got a pretty long history with BioWare. I played a lot of their games, so I know quite a bit about most of their titles. Obviously, the Mass Effect series, going back to Knights of the Old Republic, back on the PC back in the day, and even most recently with Dragon Age Inquisition and Star Wars The Old Republic. So I played a wide variety of their games, mixed feelings on some of them. Obviously love the Mass Effect trilogy, and I'm really looking forward to Mass Effect Andromeda, though, as I mentioned in my other video, I do have some tempered expectations given after my experiences with Dragon Age Inquisition. So let's go ahead and get into this and talk about some of these things. So the first thing I would really like to see in Mass Effect Andromeda is more exploration, kind of like the first Mass Effect game where you get to drive around in the Mako and explore the planets. But I also want to see more immersive exploration, make it have more of an effect on the actual gameplay. Mass Effect was great. It came out in 2008, obviously, so the whole idea of getting to drive around the planet, check things out, and find resources and things was really cool at the time. But I was really disappointed that it didn't have much of an effect on later games. Now, obviously, if you went in and did some of the side quests you found on those planets, that could affect Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, but I wanted things like the resource nodes. Like, I thought maybe in the first Mass Effect game when you were marking all those resources on certain planets, that maybe in Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3 when the Reapers attacked and all of a sudden, the universe needed more resources to build ships and weapons and things, you'd be able to say, hey, in Mass Effect 1 we went around the whole galaxy and we checked all these planets off and we marked all these resource spots. Now we can go back and grab those and have some more stuff, but that wasn't the case. And I thought that would have been a really cool thing to have happen. Obviously, it's an older game, so can't have that expectation. But for the new game coming out, I'd really like to see something like that, where the exploration is a little bit more immersive and it has a little bit more effect on the overall gameplay. Like, let's say you go to a planet and explore around, and like say you take some minerals, and maybe there's a indigenous species there or a spacefaring species there that doesn't exactly like that. And let's say they chase you halfway across the galaxy or something. It would just be really cool to see your choices and your actions have an effect later on just a simple thing like going around and exploring. So I really hope they do exploration really well. One of the problems I had going through Mass Effect 2 and 3 was that they really kind of took that out of the game and made it more of a linear experience, and that's why the first Mass Effect is still one of my favorite games, and probably my favorite game in the series. Between that and Mass Effect 2, just because you had the exploration, you were able to kind of free roam a little bit and go everywhere you wanted to and check things out. So I hope to see a little bit better exploration in Mass Effect Andromeda. And that kind of moves on to point number 2 I was going to say is I really want to see less linear gameplay. So I guess this would be more in the open world type sense. Again, kind of like the first Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2, you could really kind of see EA's influence a little bit on BioWare, where they made the story a lot more linear. You kind of had more of a set path, whereas with the first game, you could kind of go and do things whatever order you wanted to. They gave you the missions to go to, you could go rescue Liara, or you could go to Novaria, or you could go to Vermeer, or wherever you wanted to go, but you didn't have to play the game in this order. You could pretty much go everywhere, all over the galaxy, and explore and do stuff at your own pace. Whereas with Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, you had some roadblocks here and there that, you had to do things in a certain order. With Mass Effect 3, if you did, you had to follow a certain order, and it cut off areas of the game that you could no longer go to. So I want to see a little bit less linear of a story. We are going to a new galaxy. It's a galaxy we haven't explored before, obviously. It's going to be huge and expansive, and we need to be able to just go around and do whatever we want to do. I think that would be really cool. So a lot less linear gameplay. Like, by the time we got to Mass Effect 3, everything was kind of like, just go do this, go do this, go do that, and then boom, you're at the end. Mass Effect 2 did that a little bit, but not as blatantly, and was still a very enjoyable game. but I felt like the last, as Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 went on, they really got far away from the RPG feel of the first game. So I really want to see them return more to the feeling of Mass Effect, where you don't have to follow this like linear path all the time. For my third point of things I want to see in Mass Effect Andromeda, I really want to see more options for companion romances and just companion interactions in general. One of the problems with Mass Effect in terms of the series is they kind of give you this illusion that you have this choice of choosing from all these different companions to do things with, but at the end of the day, you're kind of shoehorned into picking one or two of them and sticking with it. They don't really expand, especially from Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3. You had this great cast of characters in Mass Effect 2 that you were spending all this time with, going on the suicide mission with, developing all these relationships, and then you get into Mass Effect 3 and half of them only make cameos. They kind of cut down the roster, and if you're trying to romance characters from Mass Effect 2 that were not, didn't have a big part in Mass Effect 3, you didn't get to have the full effect. Whereas if you romance Liara, obviously, or Ashley or Kaidan from Mass Effect 1 all the way through, you're going to have a much better experience from a player perspective in terms of what you're getting out of the game than you will if you decided to go with someone in Mass Effect 2 like Thane or Miranda or something like that. You're not going to get that full immersive kind of relationship when you get to Mass Effect 3, and I thought that was a problem. And they did a little bit better job of this in Dragon Age Inquisition, but there's still the same kind of thing as where certain characters don't want to talk to other characters, and certain characters are only romanceable by certain characters. I'm really tired of them kind of blocking off some of those options and just allow everybody to do whatever they want with whoever. You should be able to interact with anybody, romance whoever you want, and have actual meaningful conversation, and not the same exact. The thing that bothered me in Mass Effect 2 and 3 was you would come back to talk to your crewmates, and they would just have the same dialogue options over and over and over again. You had to play a certain amount of missions before they would open up new dialogue to talk to them. Now, the first Mass Effect was actually a little bit better with this, because after you did a couple missions or did major story missions, you could pretty much chat with everybody on the ship, and it would unlock codex entries, and you'd get experience points and things like that. And there were actually conversation options you could choose that would affect the future Mass Effect games. Like if you don't talk to Tali all the time in the first Mass Effect, there's actually a conversation you have with her where you wind up letting her take a piece of a geth, and send it back to her flotilla, and then that comes up in Mass Effect 3 later, or actually Mass Effect 2, and also in Mass Effect 3, because it affects your relationship with her, your relationship with the Quarians, whether or not you can get her loyalty and also save both the Quarians and the Geth later on in Mass Effect 3. So there's a lot of cool tidbits in the first Mass Effect with these conversations, whereas conversations did not play as big of a role in the second and third game. And like I said, you didn't have as many romance options, as many companion options. When you got into Mass Effect 3, you're kind of shoehorned into choosing certain characters. And I really hope they get away from that and they go with a more open feeling and kind of like, you're on a big ship with a bunch of people. You should be able to kind of, talk to all of them and just enjoy that and enjoy building relationships with everybody on board your ship or wherever you go, whichever planets you're exploring. So that's number 3. Number 4, I actually would like to see them add in some kind of element of space combat, kind of tie it in with the exploration. And I guess this would sort of be almost like a No Man's Sky feel to it. Like you could have like in the other Mass Effect games, obviously you could take a shuttle from the Normandy and go down to the planets and things. But it'd be really cool if you could take a shuttle or a little fighter ship and kind of fly around. You find a new planet, you want to go, you can actually scout the planet. So instead of just scanning it on a little planet map from like you did in Mass Effect 2 and 3, you can actually fly out in a little ship, have an interactive part where you can do some space exploration, maybe some space combat, and also use sensor probes and scan the planet with your ship and mark waypoints on it and things like that. I think that would be really kind of neat if they put it in. I might be asking too much, for the game, but BioWare always finds a way to pack a ton of content into these games, so I think it would be pretty cool for them to do something like that with space combat, allow us to explore space a little bit more, because honestly, we've had this great ship in the first couple of games with the Normandy, haven't really been able to do too much with it in terms of combat, but I think that would be a really cool element. They give you some kind of shuttle or scout ship. You can go do orbital scouting of a planet, scan it, find out what's on it if you want to go down and check it out. So that's number 4. Number 5 is I really hope to see another really well done multiplayer cooperative mode. A lot like what they have in Mass Effect 3, but hopefully they can expand on it a little bit more. Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is great. It's still a game, 3 years later, I'm still playing the crap out of. I love this mode. You have so many different characters and abilities and weapons and things you can use. You know, it's pretty straightforward. It's horde mode with objectives here and there, but you just have a different experience almost every time you play it, depending on the character and the group you're with. So I really would love to see them expand on this version of multiplayer, add in some more game modes, add in some more objectives instead of just the kind of escort missions and, you know, other things that they do. But I still want it to be cooperative. I don't want to see any PvP, and that's what I'm going to talk about in my 5 things I don't want video, because I think one of the great things about Mass Effect in general is that whether or not you like, you know, a lot of people argue about the ending of Mass Effect 3, but the BioWare community around Mass Effect for the most part is really mature. It's really kind of put together very well. Everybody kind of looks out for each other. It's one of the best communities I've been a part of in terms of gaming. And I think it's, you know, because of you have the multiplayer co-op, I think it sort of creates this, like, everybody wants to kind of coexist and play well together. And I think it's great how they've done that. I think a lot of the problems you run into, you see like with Destiny and Call of Duty, these other games, the communities are so split and divided in PvE versus PvP, and it's just awful. But I think one of the great things about Mass Effect is there's always been this really great community around it, especially with, you know, I think the multiplayer adds to that because you're teaming up with people to get the objectives done. So I really hope they expand on the multiplayer for Mass Effect Andromeda, because I think they've got an amazing system with it already. And, you know, with a few tweaks and some improvements to it, I think it could be a really big hit again with Mass Effect Andromeda. So we'll see, you know, what they can do with that. I really, you know, especially if you compare it to Dragon Age Inquisition, I think Mass Effect 3, even though it's on the older systems, has much better multiplayer. And it's just a great fun experience overall. So anyways, guys, that is my top 5 things that I really want to see with Mass Effect Andromeda. Like I said at the beginning of the video, let me know down below what you guys want to see, because I want to do a subscriber video and kind of talk about the things you guys want to see and don't want to see with Mass Effect, what you're concerned with, what you're really looking forward to. So feel free to leave some comments below. We'll have some discussion about it. I love talking about Mass Effect. You guys know that. So it would be great to hear some of your all's comments. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video and are, you know, again, looking forward to Mass Effect Andromeda like I am. And like I said, leave comments down below, guys. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.